Hello, everyone. This is Justin Smythe from nextbigtrade.com. This is a review of the best stage two breakouts for the week ending December 8th, 2023. Starting off with some cryptocurrency stocks, this sector has had another week of explosive volume and some new stage two breakouts. HIVE is a stock in the cryptocurrency mining space that broke out on massive volume above resistance. This was the biggest volume in the past 2 years in this stock, and it's starting to move into stage two. Dropping down to the daily chart, after an explosive stage two breakout, typically a good secondary entry would be to see some type of pullback to buy into. And one of the things that's going on with cryptocurrency mining stocks right now is we've had multiple weeks of a move higher at this point. So the sector probably is overdue for a little bit of a pullback, and that would allow additional buying opportunities in stocks in this sector. Next, HOOD is another stock related to the cryptocurrency space that broke out on heavy volume this week. Again, this is, I think, the second largest weekly volume in the last 2 years, basically exploding out of a recent correction low above the 30-week moving average. On the daily chart, this stock is a little extended at this point and definitely would be a better buy on a pullback over the next couple weeks. The final stock breaking out this week on heavy volume is WULF. This one had its biggest weekly upside volume ever this week, breaking above the 30-week moving average. You can see a cluster of heavy volume over the past 7 or 8 weeks or so as it's kind of completed its stage one base and has started to move higher on volume over the past couple of weeks. On the daily chart, this stock is actually not very extended to this point from the 30-week moving average. So a little bit of a pullback here. Again, if the sector pulls back, would be a better entry point. You've got a gap up here above the 10-week moving average or 50-day moving average as well to trade against on a pullback. You can see the explosive volume every day of the week, pretty much this past week. Now, the next couple stocks are actually from the airline space, and this stock, UCLC, is trying to move up against the 10-week moving average at this point. It's still below the 30-week moving average, but you've got a base down here, and you've got a breakout on high volume coming out of the base. This is one of the biggest volume weeks, obviously in 2023, and then you have to go back to 2022, where this stock tried to come out of the base but failed during the bear market. Now, one thing that's interesting about UCLC as well is it has a 30% short position against it. So it's a heavily shorted stock, and it's coming out of a big recent stage four collapse, basically at the end of its recent move lower. So it actually has a lot of potential new momentum behind it that could rally the stock back up to resistance, which is a big move higher before it might start consolidating, finishing off a base, and then breaking out again into stage two. If you look at Carvana, is actually a similar potential stock to this setup in UCLC, where at the end of 2022, Carvana was coming out of a major bear market low and started moving up higher on volume right at the start of the year. Carvana is actually one of the biggest winning stocks of 2023 to this point. And right at the end of the year, Carvana started rallying on massive volume, basically got back to resistance in its first major move, and then had a consolidation, and then had another stage two breakout in May of 2023 when the S&P 500 turned favorable, and this is where Carvana became one of the biggest winners of 2023. So you can see that this first move off the lows brought Carvana back up to resistance, and that's similar to what ULCC again might be able to do off of this recent low, is get back up to resistance, finish off a basing pattern, and then maybe break out higher from there. So interesting setup in this massively destroyed stock in the airline sector, and the airline sector is turning up because of better fundamentals with the price of oil moving lower as well. Turning to the daily chart of ULCC, again, barely coming off of this recent base, deep lows in stage 4, kind of retesting the base at the end of the week. So very good risk reward opportunity to buy into here, where you find out quickly if you're wrong, but there's a lot of upside potential if it can rally for its first move back up to resistance. JBLU is the other stock in the sector that is doing a similar pattern, breaking above the 10-week moving average on a big increase in volume. This stock has a little bit of a short position against it, but not as big as ULCC. And you don't have as much room to get back to the former resistance as you do in ULCC. But you've got another high volume breakout, and you've got a cluster of volume around the breakout area as well. On the daily chart, we've got a gap up on volume over the past couple days. A better buy might be if there's a little bit of a pullback to this gap to set up good risk reward. But again, we're coming out of a deep base in these airline stocks that have been destroyed at the end of the recent bear market. Finally, for the stage 2 breakouts this week, Carvana is actually the last stock. This has been a leader in the auto sector this year. It had a major sideways consolidation coming out of the July highs where the stock market went into a correction. Now you've got, a consolidation around the 30-week moving average. It's starting to move up on an increase in volume this past week. This stock is still heavily shorted, and I think is more widely followed now that it's been such a big winner this year. Turning to the daily chart, you've got a nice move higher on volume here, and then it kind of came sideways, consolidated, and moved up on volume at the end of the week. So this one might be starting its move higher, and I'd look for more follow-on volume next week to really confirm this stage 2 breakout. This stock was on the watch list last week, so it did follow through this week. I think the biggest thing that would have made this even better would have been bigger volume, but we might see that as we head into next week.